Hey everybody, it's Nate and Steph from Adventure in a Backpack. We just changed out all of our AGM batteries in our camper van to lithium batteries.
If this is your first time to our channel, we travel around in our custom DIY camper van having as many adventures as possible. If this sounds like your kind of adventure, be sure to subscribe below and hit that notification bell.
When you're building or modifying a camper and you get to your solar power system, you're going to have to make a big decision. Do you want to use AGM batteries or lithium batteries?
We've recently made the switch from AGM to lithium batteries. When we installed our solar setup just about a year ago, the drop-in replacement options we have now simply were either not available or so new to the market we really didn't want to take a chance.
Now, we can't make up your mind for you if lithium is actually worth it for you personally, but we can try to put the information into a nice, easy to understand package of information. But prepare yourself, there is a lot of information.
This is only the first video that we're going to do about lithium batteries. There's several more topics we need to discuss, but we're going to break that up into several videos for ease of learning. So if you have any questions specifically about lithium batteries versus AGM batteries or anything like that, be sure to ask them in the questions below and we will be sure to answer them in future videos.
For this video, we've actually omitted flooded lead acid batteries. You know, the old school ones that you'd have to add water to. They have to be vented to the exterior of the camper, and you've got to keep up with water and different chemistries and blah, blah, blah. That's honestly, ain't nobody got time for that. So we just left them out.
We're just going with the two more popular types of batteries on today's market, AGM batteries and lithium batteries.
There are also several different brands of batteries for each different category, but we're not going to get into those. If you want to compare and contrast the different types of AGM batteries and cross-reference the specs and the different types of lithium batteries, go for it, but that's on you. Most of the AGMs and most of the lithium batteries are close enough in specs that crunching the micro details in this 101 level video would just be confusing and counterproductive.
For this video, Battleborn is going to represent the lithium battery category and Trojan will represent the AGM battery category. Two of the best brands for their respective categories.
So before we get into the nitpicky details, we feel like we need to say that the main negative about lithium batteries are their upfront cost. Now, if you've compared, you already know this, but this video is going to be more about deciding if the initial cost is worth all of the upsides of the newer technology.
Now let's get into the numbers. We're going to assume you want to build a somewhat modest solar setup and have 200 amp hours of usable batteries. This is the same amount of power that we just installed on Nate's mom's truck camper. And if you want to see the full detailed write-up and tutorial with a free DIY solar handbook, click up here.
For the 200 amp hours of usable power, you're going to need two 100 amp Battleborn lithium batteries or four 100 amp Trojan 31 AGMs.
Okay, hold on. We know that probably was a little bit confusing. You see, AGM batteries don't really like to be drained past 50% of their total capacity. It really decreases their life when that happens, so it's a good practice to only use half of the available amp hours in AGM batteries, which is why you actually need 400 amp hours of AGM batteries to have 200 amp hours of usable power.
Before we jump into the numbers that you actually want to hear, like the amp hours and stuff like that, it's worth mentioning that the batteries mentioned are about the same size in their physical dimensions. So 4 AGM batteries would take up twice as much space as 2 lithium batteries. Next is the weight. These AGM batteries weigh 69 pounds each, and the lithium batteries, they weigh 29 pounds each. So 200 usable amp hour battery bank would weigh 276 pounds for the AGM batteries and 116 pounds for the lithium batteries, which is a 160 pound difference.
So yeah, there's the big negative on the lithium batteries. Lithium batteries will cost you about $748 more than the equally equipped AGM setup.
So what's the catch? Well, here's the catch. In order to understand why lithium batteries are a far better value, we actually need to look at the power output throughout the lifetime of the battery.
So first, let's define the cycle of a battery. A cycle is where the battery gets drained and then recharged. That's one cycle. So if you watch TV all night on your solar batteries and drain them, then the next day charge them back up to 100%, that is one cycle. So let's just say, for all intents and purposes, a cycle is one day.
Battle-born lithium batteries are designed to last 3,000 to 5,000 cycles, but we're going to go with the worst average case scenario from here on out, and we're just going to go with 3,000 cycles. And for reference, Denver gets an average of 300 days of sunshine per year, so in Denver, we would expect that battery to last 10 years.
After that 10 years, the battery is expected to still hold about 75% of its energy capacity. So after 10 years, worst case scenario, you would still have about 150 usable amp hours. Are you still with us? Good. Okay, so here's where it gets tricky.
So let's talk about the AGM counterpart. The Trojan, remember, a top-of-the-line AGM battery, states that its estimated life is 1,000 cycles. It also goes on to say that the measurement is usually measured as a number of cycles the battery can provide before its capacity drops to a specified percentage of its rated capacity, i.e. 50%.
And then it shows this graph. This graph, sure enough, shows that at 1,000 cycles, the rated capacity of the battery has dropped to 50%, which in our case would be 100 amp hours. All of that to say this: Battle-born Batteries considers their batteries bad at 75% of its rated capacity. The Trojan 31 AGMs considered their batteries bad at 50%. That's not exactly a fair comparison.
We need to look at a more apples-to-apples approach. According to that graph from Trojan, the AGM reaches its 75% capacity threshold at about 525 days, or 1 year and 9 months of 300 days of sunshine per year.
So lithium, after 10 years, you will still have an estimated 150 amp hours usable from your initial 200 amp hour battery bank. AGM, after 1 year, 9 months, you will have an estimated 150 amp hours usable from your initial 200 usable amp hour battery bank. That's 10 years versus 1 year, 9 months, apples to apples, if you didn't catch that.
So if we wanted to get our 10 years out of the AGM batteries, we would actually have to buy 6 sets of batteries. The initial 4 batteries replace at 1 year, 9 months, 3 years, 5 months, 5 years, 3 months, 7 years, and 8 years, 9 months, which would get you to 10 years and 6 months. Now remember, 10 years of lithium would cost you $1,900, and 10 years of AGM would cost you $6,912 in today's market.
Is that a ridiculous comparison? Because we think it's the most straightforward comparison we can get. Bonus content!
I know that somebody will mention the fact that we're not calculating out the 1,000 cycle 50% reduction in the AGM battery, but that's a different ballgame, and I'm going to tell you why. After 1,000 cycles, or just over 3 years of Denver sunshiny weather, you would be running on 50% capacity, aka 100 usable amp hours of your initial AGM battery bank. Remember, this battery bank is 4 Trojan 31 AGMs that cost you $1,152.
If you can function with being depreciated down to 100 amp hours, why don't you just get 100 amp hours in the first place? A single Battle-born lithium battery would be $950 and still would be ripping along at 90-ish amp hours after 3 years. That's not even to mention the physical footprint you'd be saving on one lithium battery versus 4 depreciated AGM batteries. And weight savings? 247 pounds.
247 pounds? For reference, a bottle of beer weighs about 1.25 pounds, so a 12-pack weighs 15 pounds. With your newly found weight savings, you've cleared up just about enough payload to carry a little over 16 12-packs of your favorite brew. So, our conclusion? Buy lithium, carry more beer.
Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Won't you